What's going on YouTube? I know that sometimes I can come on and sound extremely pessimistic, but to be real with you, I just get upset when people want to take exceptions to the rule or minority groups and act as if they can take what's going on with them and apply that to the larger group, right? You have to be very careful. I know I generalize, but when I do so, I make sure that I'm not being unrealistic. That's why for me, I come on and I at least try to identify the group that I'm talking about. It's sometimes, it's more than not, it's other people acting as if that I'm trying to generalize, but I'm not. I'll come on, for example, and I'll talk about, middle-class black people or professional black women, and I'll get somebody who comes on and acts as if I said it's all black people. And I've already said I'm limiting my generalization to a certain group. And when I do make some sort of generalization to the entire group, I'll come on and say that, yo, I'm coming on and I'm saying this goes for the vast majority of y'all, right? And I'm very clear about that. But like I said before, I'm very pessimistic because people want to compare and want to act like they can use this example to set some sort of new rule. It never works. Um, this week on CNN, they're doing a little special on fixing education in America, and obviously that caught my attention, right? Um, and I always get upset because you get the same shit year after year. You know what they do? They take a charter school, right, and act as if that charter school can serve as a template for the larger school system, right? But they'll fail to identify the certain key features of certain charter schools that make them highly successful. Now, I'm not saying that all charter schools are successful because I know a couple that are pretty poor. They're not doing too well at all. But in terms of the ones that they use as the example, my issue is with them, right? They have certain benefits that allow them to have high success rates, high achievement rates. First of all, the student to teacher ratio is pretty small. Okay, it's pretty small. Um, so there's more personal interaction. Okay, and that works wonders for a classroom. The fact that you only have maybe 20 kids, oh, you could do so much more, right? And it's a blessing. The times where there may be an assembly and, kids aren't there and, the class goes from like, 35 to like 20, you sit back and you're like, how come I can't like have this every day, right? So you have the smaller teacher to student ratio. Um, when you have a charter school, there's more flexibility. You still have to follow the rule. You still have to follow the standards of the district or the state or whatever, but you have more flexibility. And once again, by default, when you have a smaller class size, you have more flexibility because you can cater to people more so than trying to cater to 35 plus students, right? And that's just elementary. I'm not even talking about high school, middle school, where period 1 is 35, period 2 is 35, period 3 is 38, period 4 is 39, period 6 is like 40 because, they have kids that don't fit into a certain category, so they dump them in your class, right? So I'm not even talking about that. Um, what else, what else, what else, what else, what else? Oh, okay. And also, they're not taking the worst of the worst and turning them into college level students. They're taking, how can I put this? The best of the worst, right? They're taking the best of the best and they're taking the best of the worst and they're putting them together. So there's certain problems that you are not going to have. You're not going to have issues such as drugs and, somebody bringing a gun to school or, somebody who's, very violent. Because a lot of the times, yeah, these kids may come from poverty. They may come from one-parent households, but the households that they come from, they have parents that care. They have parents that value education, and that's all that we ask for. See, it's not just about Jimmy and Keisha who only lives with their mom. It's the fact that they only live with their mom, but more importantly, the mom doesn't promote education. Because I know students that have mom and dad there, but parents don't promote education and they still do poorly. So at the end of the day, they're taking the best of the worst and the best of the best, And a lot of these kids don't have the major behavioral problems, and a lot of these kids actually come from homes where if you call and say, hey, I need to have a parent-teacher conference, the parents will come, or the grandma or the grandpa will come, right? So literally, overall, it's the best case scenario, right? And in terms of the general school system, it's the worst case scenario where you have the overcrowding, okay? Where you don't have the resources because there's so many kids, right? You don't have the computers, the sort of resources that you need to be this innovative sort of teacher. You know, you have all the behavioral problems. It doesn't matter how good your classroom management skills are, right? You know, how you have your little do's and don'ts, you get all the bullshit that they tell you. Nah, man. If you go to certain districts, I'm telling you all from first-hand experience, that shit doesn't matter, right? You know, you got kids who've been arrested. They don't give a fuck about the police. They don't give a fuck about anything. What the hell do you think that you were going to do, right? Yeah, I'm sure that you can reach maybe a couple of them because they've never really had anybody that cares. But once again, it's unrealistic because you got damn near anywhere from 160 to 200 kids. And oftentimes, with the charter schools, they'll take elementary. Elementary is different because kids are still kids. But once you start to get to the whole teenage, pre-teenage years, that's when motherfuckers start flipping out, walling out. You know, yeah, there's still some hope when you're dealing with a little kid. You know, you're dealing with a 7-year-old or 8-year-old. Yeah, but when you're dealing with a 13-year-old, right, a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, you know, teenage boys that look like men, tatted up and whatnot, it's a whole different dynamic. See, they don't show you that, right? You know, they show you the best of the worst or the best of the best. And you get this idea that it can work for everybody, but no. Think about it. When you have limited resources and you have overpopulated classrooms, you don't have flexibility. And when there really is no division of ability, okay, that's one thing that doesn't really happen in a lot of lower income school districts. There's no division of skill level. So you'll have, for example, somebody who's at level 10, but then somebody who's at level 3. So how flexible can you be when you can't teach level 3 the same way you can teach level 10, right? But you go to a charter school and everybody's around, you know, maybe level 7 and level 4. So the range isn't that big, and you can even give people individual help because the way they're set up, there's more flexibility, right? But in the general school, you just can't. So at the end of the day, I get upset when they try to make the comparisons because it doesn't work. It doesn't work because the playing field isn't the same, right? And quite frankly, not to be mean or rude, if you put the vast majority of teachers in a position where they have the resources and they have the appropriate teacher-to-student ratio, everybody can work wonders. Okay, we'll be singing, clapping, innovative, kids leading discussion groups, you know, technologies everywhere, and, you know, kids are just raising their hand, begging to shout out an answer, and, you know, you have the cool teacher who's sitting back and with his sleeves rolled up, and he's so engaging or whatnot. Any teacher can do that, right? Not trying to shit on the teachers that are exceptional because I know some, but if you gave any teacher that sort of opportunity, they would also do well as well, right? You know, not trying to hate, just trying to keep it real. Also, and this is not just for charter schools and regular schools. This is just for teaching in general. America has this belief that we can expect a certain quality out of somebody without paying them for it. If you want to go see the best surgeon in town, you're going to pay for it. If you want the best lawyer that goes above and beyond, guess what? You're going to pay for his services or his or her services. You want the best accountant in the world, you're going to pay for his or her services. So high quality of service only comes with a high pay. No one's going to go above and beyond if financially it makes no sense for them. But we have this belief that, you know, we can continue to underpay teachers, you know, and restructure their salaries and, you know, undercut them and, you know, not give them the support that they need. But we can still turn around and say, hey, we expect you to come in at 5 in the morning and leave at 5 in the afternoon or 5 in the evening. right? Bullshit. I don't care how many movies you saw, Higher Learning, or not even Higher Learning, what's that movie called? Dangerous Minds, Stand and Deliver, all these sort of movies that, show these superstar teachers who just dedicate their whole lives to that. It's all bullshit. It's a myth. It's fantasy, right? I'm not trying to hate, but that's not how the world works. Name me one other career or job where it's mandatory that you go above and beyond, but we're not going to reflect it in your pay. There's no financial incentive for you to go above and beyond, but you're supposed to do it anyways because you're supposed to be, morally correct. No. I don't know why our society feels like we can put all our hopes of equality and fairness into public education, but yet not even pump the money into it. See, I can understand if people were just pumping money into it. I mean, there's flat screen computers everywhere. Teachers have all these sort of technology and whatnot, new books and materials, and you have enough money to pay so that you have lower classroom ratios. I can then understand if people want to do the whole, well, hey, you have everything, so now can we expect, you guys to sort of go above and beyond, but you don't have it. I mean, you got districts saying that we have no money. I mean, you got schools who did away with summer school, so you can't even get ahead. And you have certain schools that did away with summer school for the kids who are failing, right? Because they couldn't afford to pay the teachers. They couldn't afford to operate the school in terms of running costs and whatnot. So where's all these expectations come from? You can't give somebody bullshit and expect them to create something, right? It's like, I'm going to give you a pile of rocks, but I want you to come back with a gold necklace or a platinum necklace. It's like, yo, you're out of your freaking mind, man. It's not going to happen that way. So once again, I'm not saying that there's nothing you can do for public ed. If I felt that way, I wouldn't be involved in it. But the system is flawed across the board, and you need a new system, okay? And we can sit here and continue to have hope over these small little examples that don't represent the norm, and we'll continue to do the same thing, because you go back 10 years, same thing. Go back 20 years, same thing. I've been in classrooms in terms of my own schooling where we're watching stories of, the standout teacher, and it's like 1970, but shit's still bad. What does that tell y'all? Your system is fucked, right? It's as simple as that. I mean, they'll take these charter schools and act as if it's the norm, but I'm like, yo, if you go to a middle class, upper class sort of school district, it's the same thing. You got the same thing going on. They got smaller class sizes. They got more money, so you're able to do certain things. You have more flexibility, so you're more open to your approach. So all the little innovative strategies that you learned in school, you can apply, but it's not going to cut it in our failing school districts and our failing schools, right? And once again, there's a difference between middle school and high school as compared to elementary school. There's a big difference. And if you look at the examples, they're not necessarily taking, the hard ass, the tough dude, the dude who's, more than likely to be selling drugs or being involved in gang violence. They're not doing all that. So anyways, that's my video. Y'all take it easy. Once again, it's not about me being pessimistic, because I do feel like there are solutions, but I just get upset when people try to pass off bullshit as if it's some sort of viable solution. But when you break it down, they don't even represent each other. They're two different things, right? So you have a fruit and you have a vegetable. They're just not in the same category. So y'all take it easy. God bless.